Welcome to the Divine Paradigm Symposium, revealing universal pathways to joyful living. Thanks for joining us. I'm Gregory Hogue.
And I'm Gail Hogue.
And together, we have been researching and developing sacred geometry technologies for over 36 years to support the evolving consciousness of humanity and all life on the planet. We felt the inner call to bring together a collaboration of poignant dialogues with other visionary leaders whose work we love and have followed for many years. We will explore their insights and knowledge in these conversations to bring inspiration and clarity for navigating this amazing time. As we emerge from the pattern interrupt of COVID and challenges of the past year, deep-seated inner knowing will bring us forward into something new and perhaps unpredictable. Our intent is to support you on your path forward into a life of fulfillment. We have some very penetrating interviews with this series. Each one will offer you something of extraordinary value. So stay tuned each day for the next 3 weeks to absorb all you can from each of these amazing people. Every program will be available for 48 hours, and you can watch all the replays on Sunday. So let's get started. Jan Stringer is the founder of Perfect Customers Incorporated, and she has an international reputation for helping businesses to learn the art of creating a customer base of loyal, raving fans. Author of 2 bestsellers, Attracting Perfect Customers, The Power of Strategic Synchronicity, and Being, with 2 E's, Attraction, What Love Has to Do with Business and Marketing. She lives in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and shares her love of business through speaking, coaching, and training. For more information, you can go to perfectcustomers.com, and there'll be more further down on this page. So, welcome. We're so happy to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
You're very welcome.
So, can I start?
You can go for it.
Okay.
You go for it.
I know a little bit of the backstory of what COVID has done in your life in terms of you had a business plan and arc, and all of a sudden, everything seems to have shifted because of what's been going on in the last year. So can you tell us a little more about what's been going on for you and how you've moved through it as gracefully as you have?
Well, that I don't know about gracefully, but I will accept that. Possibly it might have looked that way occasionally, but yeah, I do feel like there was a lot going on before COVID, came on the scene last year, but in that I was just completing 20 years in my business, like right at the beginning of last year. That was my 20-year anniversary. And I was just reflecting at the beginning of the year, well, how do I want to, maybe this is enough, 20 years of sharing the message that I've been sharing about attracting perfect customers and being attraction, what love has to do with business and marketing. Yeah, it's been a good run, and maybe, it's time to think about doing something else. So I had actually looked at selling the business, and that was a possibility with some conversations going on there. And then just as that was getting heated up, we get this big announcement of COVID coming on the scene. And so I was like, oh, well, I'm just going to set that aside. And I decided last year that while, my normal business pace would be to offer classes, I had to have a certification program, and it just didn't feel right anymore. And so I offered a couple of things for a little bit, and then I went, you know what? I want to be a student. I want to learn from other people. And this is a good time for me to step in aside from the leadership spot and learn what I can learn and see what comes out on the other end. And in that process, I learned a lot of great things from a lot of new thought leaders, top people in our fields. And, I'm very interested in energy. Energy impacts everything. So that was always something I wanted to learn more about. So I studied with Barry Ocketel, loved his work. I studied with Bill Heinrich and Don McGrath and their 6-minute webinar. I did a lot of things like that were really important to me. I did Qigong. I did all sorts of manner of things to really just expand my being, expand my field. And where it started to pivot for me was that Mark Porteous, who we all know and love, was putting together a compilation book called Soulful Leadership. And I didn't mention that in my bio. I realized as you were reading it, I need to add that on. But I'm like, yeah, I'd like to be part of that. I have a chapter to discuss something. I'm like, well, what am I going to talk about? And, if I were to look in my rearview mirror a few years back, I had together in a session with Alan Davidson, who gifted me a VIP session with him, which was fun and fabulous as he is. What came out of that was something called Sacred Synchronicity. And so my whole first part of my career in the business was around strategic synchronicity. And I taught a method of strategy for people to attract customers. And out of the blue, certain customers started to appear for people. And now it looked like my life wanted to really go more into a spiritual direction. And so I didn't really know how that would look. And so I took part in the book as, kind of like to grease the wheels, as you might say, to get this message coming in. And then I was speaker at the event that Mark Porteous put on last fall. That started getting things going. But I want you to know what really transformed everything is that around the beginning of this, and as we moved into this year, I had been offering what I used to do was coaching, business coaching. But one day I had this nudge and I offered someone, and it was a complimentary session. I had offered a number of those as a bonus to some of my classes. I just asked her, it just came out, in a spontaneous way. Would you rather have me respond to your issue that you're dealing with, that you mentioned here, as a business coach, or would you rather hear insights from the voice of Sacred Synchronicity? And her face just lit up, and she says, absolutely, I want to hear from the voice of Sacred Synchronicity. And from that point on, my spiritual gifts have just gone way wider than they were as a traditional business coach. And so I've been doing these readings or sessions, I like to call them, where I really tap into many, many different things. This is not unusual to me, but it was not my norm of operating. So I've been bringing out the voice of Sacred Synchronicity to a lot of people now, and expanding my ability in tapping into maybe angels that are messengers for them, or how they can tap more into their spiritual side and get their own messages, how they can have more of a divine connection. with, their divine. And that's been a very fun and interesting journey that I think started last year and has just continued to grow.
Wow.
That was a long-winded answer, but that's
No,
really
that's
it.
perfect. Perfect. It's like this incredible shift has been happening on the planet, and so many people have been feeling it on a spiritual level, and you manifested it and did a, whatever degree it took to get from where you were into where you are. What a divine shift. I love it. I love
Thank
it.
you.
Dan, something that knowing what I do know about you, you really went through a big shift, and it took quieting down. And I think this is the reason I'm bringing this up, because I think it's so important for everyone.
Yeah.
That getting cut off from the track that we were on, being forced into more silence, less being able to do the normal things and keep with our schedules and keep with the same people and all of those kinds of things. It's almost like you were given, and we all are being given, that space to reinvent ourselves.
Mhm.
And it's not always easy, right? Because this is something new and different and unfamiliar and vulnerable. And I imagine that you wonder, how would business clients really appreciate you talking about connections with angels and their guides? So can you share a little bit about how that worked for you? What did you go through during that time?
Mhm. Well, certainly speaking to what you're saying there is that 4 years ago, my husband, Alan, and he had been my business partner, my best friend, my hubby, and we worked together in Perfect Customers, and he died suddenly. And so that was the beginning of, the plug came out. And it wasn't really until this year that I realized, after that death, and then certainly the death of another very dear friend who helped me move to, as he called it, midwife Sacred Synchronicity. That was Alan Davidson. When he passed away suddenly, it was like, my two Allens, my two mentors, key people. And I remember when I heard about Alan Davidson passing, which was this year on Easter morning. When I heard about it, there was a thought, of course, of shock. But then the second thought was, oh shit, sorry. I'm going to really have to do this sacred synchronicity thing on my own. I'm like, and there was thought, because he was always there, so husband was there and then he wasn't, and then Alan was there and then he wasn't. And I'm like, okay, I'm doing this. And, the beautiful part about tuning into your angels is they are never very far away. I have many direct messages from both of them who are still out there cheerleading me on, midwifing message, and it's just a little different. But so I went through that. But you know what? The big thing about what I realized, the aha moment, was not that long ago, in that I realized through a sacred synchronicity that I had felt disconnected from my divine. Like, my stand in the world is to help people connect to their divine. And so it was kind of like, oh yeah, that's what I'm all about. I'm a spiritual lady. I've been doing this for a while. I'm like plugged in, right? And I realized I was not plugged in. I didn't feel connected to my divine. And that was a very, very important moment. And so that was when I went, okay, this doesn't have to be hard. I did the hard program, already. This does not have to be hard. I just have to tune in to sacred synchronicity and start watching for the signs. They're all there. I mean, it is so teed up everywhere. It's just watching, listening, seeing, hearing, all of that, following those nudges. And it's really becoming so, it's like almost, can't believe that's happening, but it's so good. And it's just kind of like an unfoldment now. So that's what I'm excited about Sacred Synchronicity, is just, bringing that idea forward so people start to recognize, oh yeah, that's a sacred synchronicity. I had one today. And so that we all become more aware of our connection to our divine.
Oh, so can you share a little bit more transition? The oh my God, I've got to do this by myself, and if I'm going to be putting this out, I need to really get real within myself. And we all get faced with that more and more. And that's part of the nature of this time. I think part of the gift of this time is forcing each of us deeper into our true self, our true reality. So I'd like to hear a little bit more about what you did to foster that, to feed that, to bring that out in your life, because it wasn't a fast change, I'm sure. It was, there were challenges. And what did you do to get yourself on track in that way again?
Well, first, I think it's the awareness. The awareness came first, that I'm not connected, feeling really connected to my divine. So that was like, And I've been dating, where the one part of the awareness came in around dating, because I attracted two atheists. And I'm like, okay. And so when the second one, didn't work out, I was like, but why would it work out? The nothing against that person, is definitely a fine person, human being, but I realized in that awareness, Jan, you can have what you want. Just tune in to that spiritual connection. And when I did, I actually have attracted a soulmate. So I did a lot of energy clearing. Barry Akatel, I sing his praises all the time. And I also work with another Chinese energy a master, Dr. Barry. So I've studied these kind of techniques, and I started bringing them towards attracting a soulmate. And so I met someone, and I've never experienced a soul connection like this. It's like, and it seems like it happened really fast, but in essence, when you think about it, when it feels that way and it feels so right, then it's divine. It's the divine put us together. Now, it might have been an algorithm on a dating service, but the reality is I'm running the algorithm. So I bring that energy and my desire, my intention, and I just had strong intention. Oh no, I'm absolutely not even interested in anyone that is not going to be a spiritual match for me. That feeds my soul. And so that was a bit of the transition that I've been experiencing recently, and it's just magical. It's so sacred synchronicity. And to meet someone that is my, understands all this. I don't have to explain anything. I don't have to, it's just a blessing. That's all I can describe it as. So.
Wow, So wonderful.
Mhm.
And I don't know if we ever
Congratulations.
told you our story, but we met in 1985. No, well, yeah, it was 85.
Mhm.
And within about just a couple months, we knew that we were partners. And
Yes.
Spirits basically let me know that we had work to do. And I think that I was told we had work to do as opposed to he's your soulmate partner, because maybe I wasn't quite ready to hear that message yet. And talk about a fast track. We met in June and we were married in November of the same year. So when you have it together, when you aligned that way, it
Yeah.
doesn't take any time at all, does it?
No, it really doesn't. And in the moment, now I understand things that I didn't understand before. Because in wanting to manifest or create something in my life, you think about, well, here's what I want. You do all the right things to clear the path for that. But it's the experience of it actually creating it, or having it come through, that can only be the way, and that everybody can experience that at deep levels. So I believe that this shift in our planet has allowed for this deep connection. At least it has for me. So, and I wouldn't be surprised. I think it's happening for a lot of people.
Yeah.
The energy is there. The energy is definitely increasing. So it's a matter for each of us to create with it what we're choosing. And for you, it was becoming more authentic. And for each of us, really that's the more authentic means getting deeper and deeper into our own perfection.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about perfect customers in your program, and it's like we have to become the perfect being that we are. And
Yes.
we don't have, I mean, none of us are perfect. We're going to make mistakes, etc. But going toward it, acknowledging it, and just reading the feedback that universe was giving you rather than getting upset, it was like, wait a minute, this isn't me that I'm seeing in the world. I want to find me. I want to find the perfect me, the beingness of me. And everything starts unfolding from there. I love it.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I do talk about in Sacred Synchronicity, that it all really, I mean, and really all of my work is kind of a standing on the shoulders of everything, but that law of attraction is about who you're being, and so you can't create who you're being if you don't know who you are. So you got to start with that, and we're always evolving. So we have that, aspect of our growth and development, but we really are. I love how you said that, Gregory, about, we are looking for our recognition, our soul recognition. I like to call it my Anamkara. There was a wonderful book by John Donahue who wrote this book, and he's passed away now, but it's called Anamkara. And it's the whole message in that book is that we can't see our soul by ourselves. We have to attract our soul friends to reflect it to us. And so that's how I become a version of me, is through that reflection.
Ooh, that is so beautiful. And in this work that you're doing now, it's vastly different than what you've done before. And I'd love you to talk about, you have a special gift for all the people that are listening. Can you share what that is and what they're going to get from it?
Yeah, there's a couple of things that I wanted to offer people. One is what makes you tick. It's a booklet that I wrote, a small 6 pages, so easy to get through. And I want to help people to help themselves tap into what makes them tick. So it's the, want money that you want, or a romantic relationship, or business customers, or whatever it is in your life. It all starts with tapping into what makes you tick. What is your purpose? Who am I? And this gift can help you deepen that, or explore it for the first time, whatever the case may be. And so that's one gift. And it also, once you do this simple process that I talk about in there, you'll start to notice things opening up and new opportunities, and your sacred synchronicities start to show up. So
Wow.
that's one.
That's awesome. That's the good
You
stuff.
said one, you've got more?
And wait, there's more. Yeah, I wanted to give people a direct connection to me. And so I'm just getting a new opportunity going on the 4th Wednesday of every month. So you can tune in once or a million times, whatever it is, but I do a Sacred Synchronicity circle. And I will be, in there, we're tapping into some higher energies. The group brings that energy and we expand it. And it's a great place to activate whatever goal that you have, whatever you're dreaming about, whatever you want to bring into your life. And so that's going to be the second one. I'll tell people how to do that.
Wonderful.
How to get part of that. Yeah.
Great. So let's talk about sacred synchronicity, because here we are in this time where everything, so much has shifted. And when we get out of this phase, it may be a while yet, we're not going back. We're going forward. And I think what you've really discovered, and so many people have unearthed, is that this is about really coming forward in life with all of who we are, that we're bringing our souls into practice, into everyday life, into the moment, to really be present together and co-create something that is significantly different than what we've done before. And I feel like Spirit has given us this amazing time, that it is such a gift. And so can you share with us more about the Sacred Synchronicity, some of the gifts that it offers to people, what it's offered to you? You've been sharing your connection with your soulmate. How do people really gain that kind of alignment? How do they recalibrate from where they were, where they weren't as soul connected, to being in the moment with all of who they are?
Yeah. Love what you're saying, because this is really a special opportunity time. I like to say this is our time. This is my time. Like I came to the planet at this time for this reason. And a lot of the gifts that I'm sharing now, I wasn't ready to deliver sooner, but I'm bringing forward gifts that I've had in past life. I have memories of using some of the tools and techniques that I'm using with my clients from Atlantis. I learned these healing arts, this ancient wisdom, and I'm now sharing it. I never shared it before. And so people need access to that. So I wanted to give people a couple of easy tools that you may already have that you can start to use right now to tap into your awareness. And that is step one, to wake up, aware, be, more conscious. And how do we do that? So you may have something, I want to show you some of my tips and tools. Okay. Like a pendulum. I've had a pendulum for years. I actually made this one A pendulum is one way to tap into your awareness. And so it's about learning to trust your own guidance, your own intuition, and a pendulum can help you do that. So these are some of the things that I'm teaching people and sharing with people. Another thing that you might have, I talk about connecting with angels. This might be something that you use at home. I mean, you might have these put on the shelf and it's time to bring it out again. But I just brought this as, for example, a deck of cards on angels. And so every day I kind of pull a card. Let's see what card came out. I mean, it's always amazing. But this is a card called Life Purpose. And that's what we're talking about today. And so with these kind of awarenesses, you know, you may be thinking on an unconscious level, it kind of brings it into the now, like, oh, you know, this is something for me to think about. And then how do I use these? Well, sometimes I read below what it says. That can give you some insights. But sometimes I just look in the picture. What does the picture say to me? Now, this was a deck written by somebody else, but what does that picture say to me? So those are two things that you might have already or can get easily. And then another one is, I would just show you a journal. I don't have one right here, but gratitude. One of the easiest ways to connect to your divine connection is through writing what you're grateful for. And the more you can write about it, I think there is a really important thing that happens. You know, maybe you can do it on computer, but I always do it by hand. I think that connects me more by doing it that way. But writing out what I'm grateful for, because if I don't write it down, it's just kind of like, whoosh, you know, like the wind, it blew through and you don't remember it. And so on those times when I'm feeling a little disconnected maybe, or I want to tune in better, I'll just pop open my gratitude journal and start to read about some of the things. Oh yeah. And it helps me to bring my awareness forward and wake up. Oh yeah, I did that. I could do this, you know? So those are some really, really basics of ways people can start to tune in.
Synchronicities are one of the most beautiful ways that universe has of making us feel connected, making us feel alive, letting us know that we're not alone, that we're part of something greater. And so I'd like to spend a little more time talking about. People may hear it, but they don't realize maybe the depth, the power of synchronicities. And they're different for each one of us, because each one of us has, say, particular numbers, particular colors, particular images that turn us on. And once universe finds that, oh, this turns you on, great, we'll play with what turns you on. It's really our choice. We create the synchronicities and universe comes along to support us in our process of making more and more connection. So share more about what you're doing with synchronicities.
Well, as I mentioned in my first book, Attracting Perfect Customers, the subtitle is The Power of Strategic Synchronicity. And so that was, you know, in my growth and development, that was how I could approach things coming to me in a strategic way. So now I think with the evolution of our culture, our planet, ourselves, that we are, I mean, let me just tell you a story that when I first started leading workshops over 20 years ago, my business partner, who was a woman, she and I co-authored the first book together. She and I told her right before one of our workshops, I said, whatever you do, do not mention the word God. Okay? I want to keep this very business-like. I don't want that to be discussed here or be an issue for people, just promise me we won't go there. Even though she and I were very spiritual, I just said, please don't bring that up. Well, as you would imagine, the group at the table, all they wanted to talk about was God. It was just like, and as she looked at me and she said, I didn't say anything, So that's like pointing to where I've come from, where the world has come from. Bringing spirituality into business, for example, was really kind of under the table, very covert. I actually left a VP of sales job because the company wouldn't agree to put in our core word spirituality. And I was like, no, I have to have that wherever I work. So I left and started my own company. But so coming from those places to where we are today, now it's not, it's more mandatory, right? I mean, for a spiritual person, I'm not talking to my other friends out there who are not into this, but I don't think they'd be listening anyway. But just bringing forth our beliefs in a higher power, our beliefs in God, Goddess, all that is, whoever that is for you, however you like to refer to it, whatever it, I'm not trying to say it needs to be a certain way by any means. When I start to tune in to my divine connection, things will happen. I've not only manifested a soulmate, I have money. It just comes. It's just like, okay, thank you. I create friends. Connections start to go away that aren't enlivening my spirit, and others start to come through. I start to really become very selective of who do I hang out with? What is my environment around me? How am I nurturing this particular soul, which is my job on the planet is to bring forth a message. So if I put a lot of people that are not into that around me, that's not expanding my message. So I think these are the sacred synchronicities, allowing for myself to just not know how it's going to turn out, but applying trust, faith, hope, belief. I just know it will. And that knowing comes from that inner connection. And it's no room on that, in that dimension, in that domain, in that energy of knowing it is going to all turn out. That's where the miracles start to come.
Yeah.
And you just follow that. Stick with it.
Yeah. Jan, what you're saying is so important. And when you first mentioned that you used to, the byline on your book was about strategic synchronicity. Strategic is very mental, right?
Yes.
And sacred is way, way, way beyond our mental. It's also really incorporating our heart. And synchronicity, as I experience it, is the most natural thing. It's the way things are really set up to work.
Mm-hmm.
And when we have something that we're focused on, that we're clear about, that we're aligned with our purpose, where we're really using all of ourselves, it has to happen. It has to manifest. It can't not. And that's the potency of working at these levels. And when we think about our brain, and when people say, well, we're just using a fraction of our brain. Well, what else is there? It's not junk stuff. It's our soul. It's our expression, our essence of who we are. And when we do this work together, and we have all of these people who are accessing that sacredness of who they are and the sacred synchronicity, and then we get sacred co-creation, we get sacred synergy, we get all of these amazing things that I believe we are doing basic work now in order to set the tone for a whole nother planetary experience.
Yes, that's true. That's so true. I love that. I think that what you're saying really points to, you know, of course, the synergy in our two messages, but, you know, it's, I was a teacher of law of attraction for the 20 years. Everything was around that. And I really feel that we've outgrown law of attraction in a way, and that it can, you know, be too restrictive. And that was pretty expansive at the time. So now what's possible is sacred synchronicity. It's where the real fruit of our labor pays off. So we may have put in a lot of the, you know, the over time, you know, you may have been schooling yourself and learning and becoming, having experiences and learning from it and on and on. And now it can be a whole different thing, where when I used to be a VP of sales, for example, you know, I was kind of like the accountability queen, you know, counting all the numbers and everything like that. I'm so, you know, removed from that kind of experience. And I really truly believe that my divine knows my soul. So it makes sense to tap in there first, and then allow the experiences to come that will expand them. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah. And it's acceptable. It really is. I think there was a time when you were afraid to talk about spirit in business.
Yeah.
There was a time where that was totally unacceptable. I was actually doing business consulting back 20 some years ago.
Yeah.
And it was something that I did speak of, and I had to do it carefully. I had to do it, you know, context it in ways, and then you'd see the light going off in people's eyes. They wanted it. They were just hungry for those conversations. And
yes.
Yeah, and here we are. And I really feel like COVID, this past year and a half, this pandemic, and however longer it takes, and I believe that there's reason why we're not popping out of this, because we have more work to do. And that's important, because the gift of what's coming out of it is so extraordinary. And so it's okay to keep going to these depths and working with each other and finding our divine partners, and learn how to live in a whole nother level of unity than what we've done before, where we don't have to try to fit into a little pigeonhole, but instead we can be fully, magnificently who we are.
Right. And these sessions I've been doing helped me to also realize it's not just what I see on my screen here. There's so much more. And that's what I love, that we can all tap into that more now. And that, you know, those, you know, to get into multiverses and multi-dimensions and that whole conversations that, you know, sacred geometry can totally lead us in. But that's a great remembrance. You know, I've got me, but I'm just a very small tip of what else is out there. So,
you know, which really speaks to what you said a moment ago about the law of attraction being passé, because, you know, that springs from an aspect of our being where we're not really touching our beingness as much as we are touching the periphery of what do we want, What's going to make me happy? What can I attract that is going to be fulfilling? But it doesn't put us into relationship with the universe in a way, what can I grow into that's greater? What can really lead me into my beingness in a way where moment to moment, I can be present with what universe wants me to experience, what universe wants me to discover. And, that's the difference that I really heard you start to share there. And why don't we share a little bit more about that, about where we're going as a species is not just from that old, give me what I want and then I'll be happy, but how do I move into being a more divine being and part of a greater play?
Yeah. What comes to me about that is my own experience about letting go of my old stories. So, I have old stories. We all have our ways of how it's been and how we've done it and how our parents did it, etc. And part of this growth and development, part of this expansion is about being willing to drop the old story. And that's been a process for me where, I had a story of having or needing to be married and not only needing to be marry for money. That was my old story. And, I did that really well. And, certain parts of this life and last lifetime and stuff like that. That was kind of like the way it was. But that's an old story. And when I dropped that old story, and it was like, wow, I felt such freedom just thinking about, I don't have to fit my parents' expectations, my kids' expectations. I just get to be Jan, this evolution of Jan. And, that was before I attracted a soulmate. But then now that I've attracted him, I don't have to put him in a box or an old story mold of how he needs to fit in. It's just so much more expansive. And so I think that I'm even looking, I don't even know if my model of business really suits me anymore, so I'm even looking at that and just going more in the direction of sacred synchronicity. And okay, yeah, there's going to be a few businessy things that will help that message get out, but I don't even know if I want to call it a business anymore. It's just life, who I am.
Interesting.
That's beautiful.
I love that. And,
Mhm.
I'm wondering also, because I think the whole business model in the world is changing. People have had the experience during COVID of working at home, and they get to be with their families, with their kids, with their pets, with themselves. They have more time. They haven't had to commute and go through some of the anxiety of what they had to go through before. Now, not everyone. There's certainly a lot of people that did have to get on the job and deliver packages for Amazon and whomever else. But I really do believe that business is resisting their reformation, and that they dearly need help with being able to play a role that's a positive role in this whole new way of life. There's something really, I think, different that can be offered. Have you had any thoughts about that, Jan?
I kind of surprised myself to say what I just said. I don't think I've really seriously thought about that a lot, but but I was drawing a card this morning, like I like to do in the beginning of the day, and it said walk away. And I'm like, wow, everything's going really great. What am I walking away from? But I think I have indirectly been walking away from my business model of how it's been, certainly for 4 years. When my husband died, I've never gone back to the things we've done before. I tried to repeat it, and it was not doable. It was not satisfying. So I think it's like that. If I find something that's just not satisfying, I'm not going to do it anymore. I just can't. I can't even make myself do it. And so I think that's how to reinvent whatever it is we're creating, to not do what you've done before. Well, go beyond what I've ever done before. That is my new aspiration, my new intention.
Mm-hmm. And you started talking a little bit before about your weekly program that you're doing.
Yes.
I know that that's a special offer that you're sharing. Can you talk a little bit more about that? And then there will be a link at the bottom of your page that will give people access to that.
Yeah, great. Yes. It's actually once a month. It's on the fourth Wednesday of every month. And so you can click on the link and you'll get the notices about it. It's completely no cost right now. At some point there might be, but I just want to let as many people have an experience of sacred synchronicity. And so how does that look? It's a mystery tour. I want to let you know these calls go way beyond what I think they will. Again, tapping into that same theme is just the minute I decide how it's going to be, it goes way beyond that. So, but I do bring forth an opportunity for people to come together who are all experiencing these things. And I think we all need these kind of groups. We can look at new approaches, drop the old stories, invent new ones, start to utilize our gifts, talents, and skills that may have been laying dormant. This call will activate those. And so the subtitle of the Sacred Synchronicity Circle, it's a group activation experience. And so it takes a group to activate these latent skills, these latent gifts. And it's when you try to do it on your own, it makes it hard. So I'm not for anything hard right now. I want it all to be easy. And by bringing in collective energies, we can expand way beyond what we could do sitting at home by ourselves.
Love it.
Me too.
I love it. Wow. I might join in some of those calls, Jan. What a generous gift, and how fun that that we can move into that way where we're all learning from each other. And it's based on the good of all, everybody getting what they need out of that, and respecting the voices and the messages that each person brings out. It's beautiful.
And I love the perspective of we are moving more and more. I mean, what I look at as spiritual is moving toward unity and unity consciousness. And the more we engage in respecting and expecting, that energy from a larger group of people, and seeing the perfection in that and seeing the gift in that, the easier it is for us to take all the baby steps we're taking toward that unity consciousness, because that's the way Spirit speaks to us, always in ways that we haven't expected, but coming through another with a voice, another with a soul, another with a lovely experience that can awaken our experience and our compassion.
That's right.
So thank you for bringing that into action.
Wow. So,
Yes. Yes.
so this past year and a half or so has been very, very magical for you, hasn't it?
What a wonderful time.
Filled with gifts.
It has been filled with gifts, filled with gifts. Yes. Many,
And-
many blessings.
Yeah, and certainly I think we all believe that that is so for everyone. This is not an unusual experience, that so much has gotten to be revealed during this time. It was, I believe it was really meant for that.
But we really have to take the step of accepting the gift,
Yes.
turning away from, like you said, the old stories.
Mhm.
Because if you get ingrained in the old story that you had before COVID, and you're going to get back to that, and you're upset with the way things have been going, it makes it so difficult for the angels, for higher self, for unity, for others, for wherever that support can come from. It makes it difficult if we aren't at least in that space of just being open. Some people just through the quiet have been almost beaten into that space of being allowing. But it's something we need to keep reminding ourselves that that's part of our job, is to be receptive to what else could be.
Yes. Yeah, it's a lot more fun, isn't it?
Oh boy.
Than the alternative of trying to, hammer it out or force something to happen. Let's just go for the easy lifting side and the fun and sacred synchronicity. I know it sounds kind of a daunting term, but it really is about more fun and opening up to greater opportunities to enjoy and have a more pleasure-filled, satisfying, joy-filled life. And that's really the whole message there.
And synchronicities, it's not what did happen, it's what's happening now.
True.
So it's being present. That's where the synchronicities lie, in the present moment. That's where the joy comes from, discovery. It's in the present moment. Years ago, we had a flood that destroyed a lot of land around us. We had over 20 acres swept away from our land. And people used to, in their conversations, they would want to bring that up. The land that wasn't there anymore, the beauty that wasn't there anymore. But if you hung on to what wasn't there, you could start to appreciate what was now there. And the beauty that's been growing around us in the valley next to us, right outside our doorway, over the last, it's been 8 years now. It's like we've got 20-foot trees growing down there because there's so much moisture and so much green. And I think it's more beautiful than what it was.
Mm.
But again, if we keep remembering the trees that were washed away, how can we ever accept the trees that are there now?
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah. So, Jan, do you have anything else you want to share with people about, as we're talking about allowing, letting it be easy, receiving, any little words of wisdom that can support people in moving out of that posture of, I have to make it happen, to, wow, when I connect in with soul, guidance, angels, other people, it just happens. Do you have any other words of wisdom for people to move into that posture?
Gratitude comes up again for me, because I was sitting here feeling very grateful for you two, like really. And let me tell you, when Alan Davidson, who helped me, the man I referred to that died yesterday morning, and he was my midwife of Sacred Synchronicity. The week before he died on a Sunday, he had a group that his part of his tribe. And I came into the group, and I was really looking forward to it because we were going to surface, more of the wisdom around sacred synchronicity. And I was like really looking forward to that. And we had a great call. Couldn't wait to get the recording. Well, guess what? I never got that recording. I never got that recording. And so my gratitude today, and that's my parting comment maybe, is that my gratitude for you two is how today you were helping me midwife sacred synchronicity. I was just giving these words. I have no idea what it is. I'm just showing up, being the voice, and I drew you guys in apparently to help me to expand it, and you have done that. I can't wait for the recording. So I'm so happy to share that, and that is also what I would just leave as our last note today, is about gratefulness for life.
That is so beautiful. And it is a
So
living
sweet.
testament that it is about we. We're moving out of the I into the we. It is the co-creation. It is the unity. And it's joyful. It's so much fun having this beautiful conversation with you.
Yeah.
I value you, my dear friend. You are just a gift.
And that's my sacred synchronicity today. I didn't know that would be part of today. So that's my sacred synchronicity that this is happening. Thank you.
And what's exciting for me is that we're helping you, and we had no idea. It was just, we're doing what we're doing to be of service. And, the gifts that come from that are often unknown to the people that then receive them. It's like, it just, you do what you do from that place of connection and heartfulness, and what unfolds from there is always a blessing and a surprise. And so thank you for such a sweet surprise.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
And thank you for trusting that inner voice to come out with us and play and take us up on our offer to be a part of this program.
Yep, fun to play with you. I'm so happy.
Thank you.
So we want to thank everyone for joining us today and being with us with Jan Stringer. Take a look at her website. She has so much to offer, and she's going to be revealing more and more because of people like you who will co-create with her.
Mhm.
So we want to just share our blessings and love. Thank you. Thank you for watching and being a part of the Divine Paradigm co-creation. The time has come for us to work together in co-creative ways, with the outcome being greater than any of us could have achieved alone. You make a difference in this important time, so thank you so much. We want to let you know tomorrow there will be another amazing conversation with one of the heartfelt thought leaders who have chosen to be a part of this symposium. Each program is available for 48 hours, and all of them can be replayed on Sundays. You will be receiving an email in your inbox that will take you to the next conversation. So make sure you're getting our emails. Please stay with us and stay tuned. We're going to have a lot of fun with some powerful messages. The full program takes place 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday for 3 weeks. And the full program will also be available at the end for purchase. Keep checking back to the page to enjoy our next conversation. Blessings and love.